Welcome to our TRC 57 speaker series. This speaker series is part of the Nanaimo Ladysmith School District's efforts to be a better relation on the territory of the Halk'um-speaking peoples here on Southeast Vancouver Island. My name's Ted Cadwallader. I'm co-hosting today with Tzumkwatan and Slicha Tanat, Lawrence Mitchell and Stephanie Johnson. So welcome, my buddies. As protocol tells us on these territories, we start off with Tzumkwatan opening our house. So to you, brother.
Sliammon, Heichka at the Heil Eight Squale. The Wumch te Amastal Aquita Eight Squallowans at the Quail. The Wum Latla Method at the Serhenst Ether Schwawelitst Ether Smanamst. T we at an Quakikalis e Kaki Mestima. Die Wumstete Kunstuch dan het Wumch. Heichka kwatst hua I atana tamach atana quail I tamach squail. Nawan schwam kwamstana sali titles the Heichka. Oh, Hiya-ho. Oh, oh, hey. Oh, oh, hey. Oh, oh, hiya, whoa, oh, hey. Whoa, hiya, oh, hey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, as always, Marilla, that's a beautiful way to start. It's I want to start off too thanking our friends at UBC Press for connecting us with these amazing authors that have been part of last year's series and this year's series as well. And if you're interested in any of the books, you can visit our website, trc57speakerseries.ca, and UBC Press has generously offered a deal on there too. It's my great pleasure to introduce our guests today, Dr. Elsie Paul, joining us to talk about her life, her book. Elsie, raised by her grandparents, has lived 90 years on this wonderful West Coast, and through the help of our grandchildren and authors and our publishers, we've managed to capture at least some of that beautiful story of joy and laughter and heartache and loss, but mostly learning throughout those 90 years. And so a little different format today. I'm going to turn it over to Ka'akstalas's grandson, Davis McKenzie, who's going to join us here, and we're just going to have a conversation with those of us who are sitting here and see where this one goes. And so I'll take this opportunity to turn it over to you, Davis.
Thank you, Ajay Chiput, everybody. It's really great to see you. The reason Chichia's screen is lighting up, but I'm talking, is that we're like this right now. So there's Chichia, there's me. We're just sitting across from each other, and we just meant to have a conversation today. I know many of you have read her book or are interested in Chichia's book, and it's been a great journey. I know the process to develop the book started way back, and Chichia will tell you about that, but my cousin Harmony and UBC Press were instrumental in that partnership, taking Chichia's stories and life and putting it out there in a way for people to learn from and to live by. And then years later, we came along and created a website. So if you haven't checked out the website yet, that's at Raven Space UBC Press. Take a look around. The reason we created the website is not everyone could afford the book, so we wanted to make it free and available, parts of it for people to learn and listen from. So today, we're going to be in conversation with Chichia across the room here. And Chichia, if it's okay, maybe I'll start off with the first question, which would just be, if you could just tell people who you are and where you're from.
Yeah, my traditional name is Ka'akstalas. I was given that name by my grandfather. That was his mother's name. She was from Cape Mud Reserve, and it was one of those arranged marriages from way back when, and she moved here and lived here and buried here, you know, and so my grandfather passed that name on to me, and I share that name with several of my cousins too as well, which is allowed to happen. One of my granddaughters carries that name as well. So, yeah, it's an honor to be sitting here today with all you people, and I'll try my best to tell this story as it is. When we first started this book, I was more interested in trying to preserve the culture, because we've gone through some very troubling times with being accepted in the bigger world as First Nations people within our own territory. So our children going to school, local school here and in high school, and we now have a university here from Nanaimo University. It's a smaller university here. And I shared my life stories and the stories of my ancestors, my elders, our people. I really wanted to put that out there to the schools, from elementary school to the high school. I wanted our history known. And I was somewhat nervous when we first started talking about doing this, because we were not well received by the non-native settlers here, our neighbors, because growing up, we were not allowed to go into town, and we were very restricted, and you can't have visitors from town, or if you made any friends, they weren't allowed to come and visit. And after 5 o'clock, you were gone. So we were only allowed in very small areas of town. If we went to the movies, that's all in the book, and you'll read it in the book anyway. But that was how it was. But what got me started to begin with, I have a couple of really good friends, and Arlette and her husband, and Arlette was the principal over at the university here in Paul River. And I worked there for a period of time, talking about our history, and I really thank her for that, to reach out, and that I was hired to come and give talks in the university about our culture. And so with that, she really encouraged me to do a book. Well, her husband too, saying, why don't you write a book about your history? And I said, I don't know how to write. I wouldn't know how to do that. And because I don't have I only went up to grade 10, barely. And I said, I wouldn't know how to go about writing a book. And he said, well, Arlette will help you. So we started doing that little by little. And up to 7 years, we've been working on, we're done, and send it off to UBC. And we got them called back and said, where's the voice? So we had to start over again by videotaping, and had to start all over again, which took another, I don't know how many more years after that.
3 maybe?
3 years.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work, but it's well worth it. I feel really rewarded in the sense that it's well received by the schools, that our non-native children in the school system are reading it, and the parents are reading it, the teachers are reading it. So it's been life-changing, I think, for many of us. And I really appreciate that, because I come from a totally different world than, I think many of us come from different worlds and different languages and different colors, and just being able to share our culture, which we were not allowed to share or mingle with, stay in the reserve, and you can't go anywhere. You're kind of locked in. Whereas our people traveled. I grew up traveling with my grandparents on the coast and living off the land, and just being taught by my grandparents how to treat the land and how to treat the food that we get off the land, and to always appreciate what the Creator put on this earth, including the water, including the trees, including the forests, and everything around us. So I'm glad that more and more people are looking at it that way, that, for us, the cedar tree is very important. That's our medicine. And I see that being used in other nations too. On the island, I made a lot of friends with people from Nanu's, from Nanaimo, from Duncan and Campbell River. And, I've worked in treatment programs, and I meet a lot of First Nations people from different areas. So I know they use other types of medicines for wellness, to cleanse you, to cleanse your mind, how you practice that. So our way is not the only way, but I think as long as you believe in what you're doing, to respect what the Creator gave us, the tools that we use for wellness, to me, that's really important. So
Mhm. Yeah, I remember when you were doing the book, you and I had talked and you had said, I wanted to make a book for my family, for our community,
mhm,
yet it's been grabbed by so many people
mhm,
who have looked at it and gotten something from it.
mhm.
Have you been surprised by how it's been received, I guess?
I'm very surprised. I've gotten letters from people I don't even know, and saying I really appreciate the part in your book, because we all have our losses in life. It could be your parents, your spouse, or your children, and how you deal with the grief and the loss. How do you come out of that dark place? So I've gotten a really nice letters from different people that I don't even know, thanking me for that part in the book of how to come out of that dark place of grief and move on with life. So I thought, that's wonderful that it's able to help other people out there, not just my own nation here, but other people. And I know that other First Nations people around the province, around the world, have their medicines, their own way of healing. So there's always hope, I think, when you lose someone, you don't wallow in the grief, you don't stay in the dark place. And to me, that's a really important part of the book and the teachings as it's handed down by my grandparents and other elders in my time, our ancestors.
That is a very powerful part of the book, and I wonder if you can talk about that teaching about the power that people have when they are grieving, because you've
Mhm.
talked about that power and how it's like a fork in the road.
Yes. Yeah, I truly believe in that part, is that because my grandmother always taught that, as well, other people, other elders that I remember. You can go into it, you're at a time and place in life where you're standing in the fork of a road, and you're either going to go right or you're going to go left. It's easier to go right because you could cry and turn to alcohol or other means. You get lost and you don't deal with that grief. But if you go to the right, it's tough. It's really tough. But I was always told, you do it for a whole year, be strong. It's always going to be strong. It's uphill. You are going to want to cry and cry. But no, you can cry. The Creator gave us tears for a reason. And we can cry but stop crying, go outside, greet the day, greet the morning. Go wash your face out there and go do brushing. And, I've had my cry, but I got to move forward. And for the sake of my children, for the sake of the living, to, don't be ashamed to cry, but don't cry all the time. Don't stay there in the dark place. To me, was really important teachings. And I try to pass that on to, we have many losses in our community, and I try to put that message out there to people. It's a hard road to travel, but it's the only way to go.
Did you feel nervous at all putting the teachings out there for everybody to see?
In the book,
Yeah.
not really, because to me that's life. That's my belief. Is that's what I practice myself. And if anyone's willing to listen, then I'll put it out there. And I think I can get long-winded, huh?
Yeah, there in the book itself, and I really realized this in the process of doing the website, there's a lot of hard truths that are captured in your book about how life was and how life has been in this town, which is named after an Indian agent, Paul River.
Mhm.
Why did you feel it was important to put that out there? Because I've heard strong reaction from people in town, like, oh, I didn't know.
Mhm.
I didn't know that our town was segregated until the 50s. Like there's a lot. So I wonder if you could talk a bit about those hard, difficult truths that you put out there.
Mhm. Yeah, I think until you step out there and share, and if you've got a willing audience, like through the school system, in classrooms, whether it be in the elementary schools or in the university. And like I said, I've worked at the university as an elder to talk about our culture. And I go and give a little talk to their home care workers or taking that course or nursing course, all of those different training courses they have. And when I talk about what our history has been like, and quite often you hear these students, I never knew that. I never knew that about your people. And a lot of times it would bring tears to their eyes, it's like, wow, why didn't your people get a lawyer? Why didn't your grandparents get a lawyer? Well, we never had that option. It was forced upon our people to be segregated. When you go into town, it's only one table over there in a cafeteria for Indians only. That's where you go sit. All that kind of segregation. And we're told where to send our children to school. We were never asked, where do you want your children to go? So all of those things that our children taken away to residential schools without any input or being told that this is the best for your children. This is, how would you like to send your children here? No, it was never like that. We never had a choice. Our grandparents never had a choice. So it's almost like awakening for our non-native neighbors. We still have some discrimination and some people are non-believers, but that's okay. We're moving along. But we have a lot of people. I have a lot of good friends in town, and I can have people come visit my house, and they're always welcome to come and visit. But in the past, you can't have white people come into your community, and you can't invite someone to come in for tea. You'd get arrested. They would get arrested. Like I was telling one story in the book, about a friend of my uncle's, and he lived, his mother was First Nations person and from here. But so he was, related to my uncle. And he would come and visit, but you can't stay after dark. You got to go back into town. And the police would come looking for him. I guess his dad would sick the police on him. He's down the res and go find him. And the police would obligingly come and with their flashlights flashing around looking for this little fugitive.
Mm.
And he said the first safest place for him to hide from the police was the graveyard, the cemetery. He'd sneak in there and lay flat on the ground, and the police would be going back and forth looking for him. That's how backwards it was. It's hard to believe, but that's just how it was. Nowadays, we're really working hard at building relationships with our neighbors. We have the RCMP that works with us, and I've given a lot of workshops in the hospitals to the doctors, the nurses. So we're just getting to know one another in a better way. And I think, you have to really believe in it and want to see those changes happening. It's slow. It's very slow, but we've come a long way. We've really come a long way. And we've got a lot of good people working with our people. And sometimes we slide back, but get up and go. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize until we were working on the animations together on the book about why our community, so many of us had used blankets for curtains because it blocks out, because the police used to come around and look for any sign of light in the community.
Yeah.
They'd look for any light on, they'd walk in your door.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they'd come rap on the door and say, "What's the lights on for?"
Why are you up?
Why are you up?
Why are you still up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And it's so different now.
Mhm.
The police could walk in and, one night we woke up and the police standing beside the bed with a flashlight. What the heck is going on? I don't know why they're looking for someone and just walked into our house and no knocking on the door. It's just the way it was. I don't know why. Sometimes I question that. Why? Who made up these rules? But it's been a real uphill, a real struggle to be recognized, and we're just as important as the next person.
Mhm.
I don't discriminate about any culture one way or another, that, we're all people. We just didn't have that understanding by people that came to our lands. We can't go there. We can't go here. We've become like fugitives hiding out. And that's why my grandparents always left this community to go up the coast. That's why I wasn't able to go, or that's why I was not kidnapped by people taking us to residential school until I was about 9 or 10, because they left here. My grandparents would leave this community and go live up the coast. My grandfather had a float house, so he towed that float house from one place to another, and that's how he made his living anyway. So during the summer, he would go take his float house and tow it way up the coast and went hunting, trapping, seal hunting, hand logging. So we'd come back here around ending of September, and by then all the kids had been taken away. And so there's another year I escaped going off to residential school. Yeah, thanks to my grandpa.
I think it's been a bit unexpected. Well, one thing, I don't know, maybe it was unexpected by me, but how much our own community has also learned from the book. Like we talk about our non-native neighbors learning about the true history, but so many of us, our parents or our grandparents, it was almost like they didn't share that history because it was painful, with their children or grandchildren. And I think it's very liberating to understand that what's going on, this is a result of systems and different things that were happening. This is not just my family going through this. This is all, for Coast Salish world families going through this, right? So I think
For
that's
sure.
another thing. There's been young people in the community who are very liberated by reading this history that you've shared.
Mhm. Yeah. A lot of things are coming up for our people with what has happened with residential school. And I used to hear comments just being around other people like, why don't the Indians get over it? You know, that was a long time ago, you know. Well, it's something you don't get over in your lifetime. Now that, you know, all these children have been uncovered, the graves that are uncovered in residential schools, especially in Kamloops, and, you know, that's a true history of our people. It's not something that happened overnight and you get over it, you know, that was last night or that was yesterday. You know, it happened to many people, many of our First Nations people suffered. So that's a big, big hurdle. And we're trying to heal. Our people are trying to heal, and the workers we have are, you know, we're getting there. We're getting more help and more acknowledgement. And oh, yeah, that did happen in our First Nations people. That's what happened. A lot of healing yet to be done.
Yeah, I know when we were talking earlier, Ted had a really good question about how you've, I guess, used the teachings in those moments. Ted, maybe, did you want to share
Yeah,
that
thanks,
question you were
Davis.
talking about? Yeah.
I was thinking about many of our guests who are joining us are from school districts, and not all of them, but many of them work in organizations where they're under a lot of stress to deliver in a pandemic environment, right? To change the way they've always done stuff, and they're under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, and they wear all of that, and it sits on their shoulders and it sits on their spirit. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because you've been in that environment before too, where people are in front of you and in your face and hollering at you across a desk, as you mentioned in the book. Can you talk a little bit about how you use some of your teachings so that it doesn't tear you apart?
Mhm. You know, I had a really good teacher, as well as my grandparents, you know, to be tolerant of people and not to be reacting all the time if someone has nasty things to say to you or challenging you about something in an aggressive manner. Um, when I first started to work as a social worker for my community, which I never had any training for, way back in the day in the early 70s. That's when we first took over our administration of some of our programs from Indian Affairs. And I had no training whatsoever in social work. And so I was hired back then by our chief because I knew our people and I'm fluent in the language, that I would be someone to work with the nation. So that's where it started. And so the person that came and brought me 2 binders from Indian Affairs, he was a wonderful man. He was a Japanese fella, and he worked for Indian Affairs for a number of years and ran into a lot of obstacles himself with working with Indian Affairs. And so he gave me some wise words, and that just kind of added on to what I already knew from my grandparents. You know, don't be overreacting when people are saying or angry at you or all of those things, and take care of yourself. So I really appreciated that. He worked with me for 2 weeks to train me for this work, and you know, when you go home, he said, at night you're going to have a lot of people that are going to challenge you, and it's not an easy job being a social worker or caregiver or be administering income assistance, that kind of thing. Just use your own judgment and here's your guidebook kind of thing. But always remember that when you go home, take a few minutes for yourself, where you want to go sit outside or go to your bedroom and just take a break and process. Don't take it home with you. And because if you do, you're going to be in an angry place or a hurting place. You might take that out on your family. Just take time and take care of yourself. So it's very similar to our teaching, the way our grandparents taught us. If you're hurting or angry or whatever it may be, or you're grieving, you can go out, go for a walk in the woods or go down the beach and sit by the water and connect with nature. Don't carry it. Don't take it to bed with you. Don't take your anger or your hurt out on other people, because whoever hurt your feelings that day must be coming from an angry place or hurting place. So that was my salvation, so I did that work for just about 25 years. I almost made it to 25 years. And by then I was experiencing some health issues. And so I had to let go and retire. Yeah, so I think just remembering those teachings to ground yourself, to greet a new day. You don't know what tomorrow brings, but when the sun is coming out in the morning, go out and greet the day. This is a new day. Yesterday is gone. Take care of today. Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had similar advice from elders in my past that are similar. I say one of my uncles from Fort Rupert would say, "Quit worrying about it. Just do something." Yeah.
That's
spend
right.
all your time worrying instead of doing something. Just do something,
Yeah.
and once you get your hands moving and your feet moving, then things start to take care of themselves. But thank you for
Right.
that.
Mhm.
Davis, can I jump in with one more in there too? Because some of the things that you mentioned, Auntie, along the way, I wrote down. I was quite struck by the language that was part of the book. The languages on the West Coast, I think, are absolutely beautiful, and they give us a little window into the ways that our ancestors thought about themselves in the world when we look at them. And so, first of all, thank you for including the language in the book. Um, but and I know that you have Betty Wilson and Gail Blaney and others that are working so hard on keeping the language alive and keeping it going and growing. Is there any advice that you could give us, the rest of us who are trying to work on revitalization of language and maintenance, that could be helpful?
Mhm. Yeah. If you can connect with one person that is fluent, even that is a lot, and that has the patience with you as a learner to teach you over and over. Sometimes some people that are maybe still going through difficult times in their lives and they're fluent in the language, they might get angry with you and be impatient with you, and that can be a real turnoff. You just don't want to work with that person again, because all our learners some are different stages. They're compared to kindergarten or grade 1 and up to whatever grade, university level. Some people will know a lot more than other people, but you always have to remember that there's a starting place, and have patience. Find the person you can work with. Yeah. I never thought I would be doing this kind of work with language on Zoom. I knew nothing about Zoom, and I was really scared of it. I didn't want to what would I do? And I don't know how to turn the thing on. So at first I would have my daughter come and sit with me and turn it on for me. And my eyesight is getting bad, and my hearing's getting bad, and my memory's getting bad. So I needed a lot of help to get me started using Zoom. Now I can turn it on sometimes, but sometimes when it tells me for whatever I'm supposed to do and it doesn't open up for me, then I get, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I'm not friendly with this thing. So yeah, language is really important. I work and I've got a really good person that I work with now that her name is Marian from the UBC in Vancouver. So we do language, been over a year now since Zoom started. Seems we're not able to sit together, but I'm finding it very useful now that we can work one-on-one, and Gail works with me, and a couple other people will come in and that are working in the school system, a couple of our own people. So it works. It's moving slowly, but the language is difficult to for the non-speaker, because a lot of the sounds come from way back in your throat and through your cheeks and all that. And yeah, but it's moving along.
Yeah, it's nice that it's still there in the face of all efforts to try and wipe it out over the years. It just makes me smile that the language is still coming from the lands that it's been on, even after all this time of trying to get rid of it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's slowly coming, and it's really hard for the ones that are just learning because they've lost that ability to recognize where the sound is coming from. It's they're really struggling with that. So it takes a lot of patience and reinforcing and repeating, and yeah. So hopefully we can have had the chance to teach a few people that can still speak the language fluently, so that they can pass it on. It's going to grow.
I wonder if I can jump in, Ted, with a question, because it's connected to language, but the part of the title of the book is Amstau. And I don't know if everybody knows, like, what do you mean when you talk about Amstau?
Amstau? Amstau is everything about our teachings in life. It was always used by our ancestors. Amstau. You live by your Amstau, your teachings, your life teachings, how you treat people, how you train yourself to be. It's all in that nutshell of Amstau. Is the teachings. You get your Tao as a young boy growing up, how you're going to live your life, not to be lazy, to be kind, to how to live your life in a good way. That's, if I'm teaching you that, that's your Tao. If I'm teaching my daughters how to live a good life, not to be lazy, or to be good mothers, then that's my Tao to them. So that's the word Amstau, to carry that all the time.
Yeah, I heard you talk about not being rich as a kid, but being raised adopted really by your grandma. That's your mom.
Yeah, and that was, I'm very thankful to my grandparents, that they took me when they did. And because my mother had, my mom had a large family, and all my brothers and sisters, and I was the second child of my mom, and we're just a year apart. And because my granny lost her daughter Elsie, who was taken away to residential school, and she took me shortly after that. That was her youngest daughter, my granny's youngest daughter. And when I came along, she took me, and a lot of the grannies did that to help the young families to raise, well, I'm going to raise this one, I'll name her after the child I lost. So you become part of that family. So that's what happened to me. My grandmother took me, my grandparents took me and named me after the daughter they lost. Her name was Elsie. So from a very young age, I was accepted and loved and cared for by my grandparents. Yeah. I didn't realize my mother was my mom until I was maybe about 7 years old or so. I got to tell you that little story. I think I got that in the book. There's this one child that was in our community that was kind of spoke her mind and tell you where you're from. One day I was out playing, I guess, and she said to me, your Molly's not your grandmother. Molly's not your mother. Said Lily's your mother. She didn't want you, so she put you in a cardboard box and put you outside the fence so anybody can pick you up and take you home.
Oh, that's mean.
Oh my gosh, just like a little puppy being put in a box out there. And I guess I ran home crying away. Oh, she told me, that you're not my mom. And up till then, I always called her mom. And no, she reassured me, it's not like that. We wanted you. We took you because we love you. And your mom loves you too. Yeah.
And what a gentle parenting she put on you.
Yeah.
A gentle way of parenting.
Yeah.
That's the inheritance that comes all the way to our generation.
Yeah.
Through my mom, your daughter.
Right.
Is the gentle, like that gentleness. Still strict, but gentle.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. You can pick up a whipping stick too if I need to. No, I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
I just love the book. It just strikes me as absolutely West Coast, right? When I think of this coast, you're 4 years younger than my dad. My dad's passed away now, but he just grew up on this coast from a small reserve, north end of the island. But just being outside, being on a boat, in inlets, fishing, logging, doing all of those things he spent his life. So as I was reading the book, it just struck me that I know many of those people from that generation of my dad that lived their life like that, being outside and traveling on the water without any rules, without any clocks, without and being surrounded by family. When you were talking in your book about being a small child and being with cousins and fish camps and all of those sorts of things, it was such a West Coast story. So I want to say thank you for that. Now here's something for you too. On the front of your book, you're cutting fish. Do you still get to do those things so close to the land that you love to do?
I'm still doing it, but less and less. This year we didn't get any sockeye, but I helped one of my nieces. She loves to do fish. So we went to the hatchery we have here in our community and had those guys pull out some fish for us. And we did, I think we did 80 fish, but they did the cutting and I was cutting as well. And this is for smoking the fish in the big smokehouse. So I was really happy to do that. I'm not able to do my own smokehouse this year because it's going out in the middle of the night and, you know, keeping the fire going and all that. So I decided to hang that up and not, you know, force myself. Besides, I'm really scared of bears, and a lot of bears around our neighborhood.
So this is what you have grandchildren for.
I know, but I don't trust how they light that fire.
She thinks we're gonna put dry wood on it, not wet wood.
Burn the
Yeah.
smokehouse down.
That wouldn't be the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so I really enjoy, you know, being out there and hands-on, and still want to do as much as I possibly can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I heard you cut 40 of those 80 fish, by the way. Gail told on you. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and my, you know, my family get really, they lecture me. And they say, I heard you were doing fish. What were you doing out there? You shouldn't be out there.
Mm.
I know what I'm doing. I always tell them, I know what I'm doing.
Stephanie, you've got a question there from our chat. Do you want to put that in there before we finish up here?
Yeah, somebody asked a really great question about the children, and I just want to go back here. It was Sarah Stone said, what message would she most want young people and students to know today from your life's teachings? From Amstau.
Mm.
What I would like for the young people today is to pay attention, take advantage of who they can go to that would still be able to bring some of our history to them, or listen to a speaker or someone that they need to do their research. And I guess, you know, there's not enough people, I feel, that are readily available to teach the history and lessons of life. But I think, you know, what Davis has put together here, by learning by what we're doing today, using what we're using, I think that's a real good way of getting a glimpse of our teachings, our history, our life's lessons. I think by using technology today, because it's out there available. I read a book from a lady from up the valley. What is her name now? She makes baskets like my granny used to make baskets, and there's still that book too that very similar to our teaching and our lifestyle. So I think by using what's available now to teach the young generation before it gets totally lost, I think our nations, our First Nations communities have elders that still have that tool to share. When I used to go work in healing programs and the funding ran out a few years back, a lot of the elders that used to come and work at those treatment programs, we did it in pairs. Like I would be there, it's a female elder and a male elder from another community to support people that were coming for healing and counseling, therapy. And when that funding got cut off, they said, that's the end of funding. I guess more or less saying, you're all healed. You know, your funding's run out. And these elders that I worked with, we had a workshop with all the elders that came to these centers to work together. They were really upset. We're not healed. The people are not healed. We still have a long ways to go. And we need to, what can we do, you know? And so we're all sitting in this big circle and just, you know, talking about what can we do next. And I said, you know, it is a real concern that the funding has been cut. I agree, we still have a long ways to go. Our next generations to come need help and need a lot of help yet. And I said, all of you can still speak your mother tongue, your language, and you all have families. You know, share it with whatever you can. Get them to document what you remember in your history, what you would like to pass down. That's the tool they have today, is by going to look for the history of the people, because they're all going to school now and getting educated, and you know, get them to look for the information that they're looking for, you know, before it's totally lost. Because we're holding in our hands our culture right now. And when we all go, if it's not documented, then it's going to be lost. So I really encourage the elders out there that are still fluent in the language and that still carry the stories, the history, to share that with their own children or any young people that are interested, to start documenting. Because all our stories are very similar. I hope that answers your question too.
Thank you, Auntie.
hope
There's
that
so
helps.
many more. Yeah, there's so much more, right? And I love that time spent with elders and fluent speakers. So I want to say thank you to Davis and to you, Auntie, for sharing your knowledge with us today. I'm going to turn it over to our brother Lawrence to any final comments and to close the house. Exactly.
Thank you.
Sliammon Syeyutsus Namet CM Sliammon. Really thanking you from a really good space for everything that you've shared, not only with us here on this computer and through Zoom, but all the lives and hearts you've touched throughout your entire life, and all of the great medicine that you're going to bring across our world through the words that you've shared in your book. It's really a high honor to be able to share a little bit of time with you today, and thankful that the beauty that you've learned throughout your life will continue to reverberate throughout the sands of time. And look forward to many more discussions with you, and hopefully can sit down and have some tea with you sometime. It would be a great honor. So I really wish you many blessings and all of your loved ones. And just gonna share a song before we sign off. Hi, CM.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your words. I really appreciate that. And I look forward to maybe seeing you guys in the future, and yeah, spend time face to face and just have a good conversation. Thank you.
In person would be nice.
Yeah.
Oh, 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 we, I
Thank you
think
very much. Thank you very much. Cha.